Admiral Yamamoto reporting the results of the exercises. All targets were hit. During the past few months, our pilots have improved the effectiveness of their torpedo attacks significantly.
Good. I will personally express our gratitude for their distinguished service.
Fighter pilots are asking for permission to use aerobatics during training flights and military exercises. Previously, we have forbidden such training due to a high mortality rate among pilots.
Permission granted. If the war breaks out and our pilots are ill-prepared, we will have many more deaths. They should train rigorously.
Yes, sir.
My, how beautiful the blossoming sakura is. Do you not think so, Yamamoto? It has already started to blossom while our Navy is still resisting any decisive actions against the United States.
The sakura blossom is magnificent indeed, but soon its flowers will fall. Would not the whole of Japan fall as well if we enter the hopeless war against the United States and Great Britain, Army Minister Tojo?
The Army is sworn to protect the Emperor, but without fuel we cannot perform our duty. Thus, we need to occupy Indochina and utilize its oil production.
That action will only worsen the situation. I am afraid as of now, 80% of our fuel is imported from the US. If we invade Indochina, we will get a powerful enemy and still be left without fuel.
So what? Do we have to keep dancing to the Yankees' tune? Absolutely not! We cannot wait for their wretched pittance. We must take what is necessary to protect our emperor and our homeland without paying attention to anyone else.
The Navy as a whole and myself personally stand firmly against the war with the United States. They will immediately be joined by Great Britain and the Netherlands. Their combined forces are too powerful.
Our samurai spirit and faith in the emperor will help us overcome any foe.
I see it as a not well considered childishness. Only the personal command of the emperor, whom I faithfully serve, will make me lead the Navy against the United States.
Japanese troops invaded southern French Indochina on July the 28th, 1941. In response, the US government imposed trade sanctions on Japan, including the freezing of Japanese assets in the United States and an embargo of oil exports to Japan.
The whole note. It is preposterous. How many more insults do we have to endure? The Yankees want to keep us on a leash, put us in a doghouse, only to be fed their leftovers. This is equal to a declaration of war.
You have become a prime minister, General Tojo, but have not become more prudent. Did you really expect the United States to ignore our occupation of Indochina? A wise man will always find a way to avoid...
Admiral Yamamoto, can you not finally understand? If we succumb to the United States without a fight, we will surely become just one more state in the United States and the Japanese nation will be lost forever. Whereas, if we accept the fight, uneven as it may be, then even if we lose, our descendants will be able to revive Japan and keep on living while holding their heads high.
It is not you who will be dying, General Tojo. It is Japanese youth.
If necessary, I am more than ready to give my own life for the Emperor, our country, and its future.
And who gave you the right to decide for the whole of Japan?
His Majesty the Emperor has decreed that we develop and execute an attack against the United States fleet in order to protect our interests in the Pacific Ocean.
I will comply with the Emperor's will. I expect that we will officially declare war on the U.S. right before the beginning of our attack. We must not dishonor our country in the whole world's eyes.
I think you have a point, Admiral. I will make sure to warn our diplomats.
Admiral Yamamoto, the Navy headquarters have devised a plan of attack on Pearl-Harbour according to your instructions. Our first air fleet will annihilate the U.S. Pacific Fleet with one decisive blow.
I consider it my duty to remind you that I always consider this fancy plan of yours an unjustified gamble. We must proceed with time-tested methods, not some fantasies.
Time-tested methods are great if the opponents have equal strength. We, on the other hand, have to make a miracle for Japan to come out victorious after this war.
Aye, aye, Admiral.
Ogaki, please provide our diplomats with the exact timing of the upcoming attack. They have to make public our declaration of war before we begin the attack.
Consider it done.
Tomorrow I have to leave Tokyo together with my fleet. I cannot say where we are headed, but I won't be back for quite a while. I'm afraid that food shortages will soon begin all over Japan. With this, you will not starve.
Yamamoto-san is too kind to me. I will miss you so much. Please, write to me as often as you can. Your letters are always so wonderful.
I definitely will. You too should not forget your good old Yamamoto.
We did it! The Americans could not even grasp what was happening by the time we sunk their battleships. If we keep going, the victory is not far off. Long live His Majesty the Emperor!
It is a victory. However, our main goal, the destruction of the enemy carriers, was not achieved.
Admiral Yamamoto, we have just been informed that our diplomats in Washington delivered the declaration of war 1 hour after our attack.
This is unimaginable! Our diplomatic service has brought unthinkable dishonor upon the Emperor and the people of Japan. We had to declare war on the United States before the attack. While our pilots and seamen have demonstrated combat valor and heroism of the highest esteem, our diplomats have stained our valiant effort with indelible shame. All right, what's done is done. Command Admiral Nagumo to attack Midway on his way back. We must not lose the initiative.
Aye, aye, Admiral.
The commander of the combined fleet, Admiral Yamamoto, has ordered you to attack Midway immediately, sir.
I am the commander of the First Air Fleet, and it is for me to decide whether it is expedient to attack or not. We will not do that. Our fleet has just sunk more than half of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, and after that, we are ordered to bomb some useless atoll? This is as if a sumo wrestler has just become a champion and was immediately sent to buy some groceries at the nearest market. It is unthinkable. I will not tolerate such disregard for me and my men. You can tell this to Admiral Yamamoto himself.
Aye, aye, Admiral.
Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet, upon your order, the attack on Pearl-Harbor was successfully carried out. The enemy fleet has suffered huge losses. Ours are negligible.
At ease. Sit down, Nagomo. You have successfully carried out the attack on Pearl Harbor, Admiral. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commander.
Nonetheless, I am dissatisfied with the result of the operation as a whole. It's not your fault that the enemy carriers were not at Pearl Harbor, or that our diplomats demonstrated infamous blunder. We did deal significant damage to the U.S. Pacific Fleet, but we have failed to achieve our main goal. We did not fully undermine its combat readiness.
Without the enemy battleships, we can act with a more open strategy and some audacity, bringing the enemy carriers to an inevitable demise.
I did not see that open strategy and audacity when you refused to carry out my direct command to attack Midway on the way back home.
Well, the weather was unfavorable. Furthermore, compared to the Pearl Harbor attack, the Midway bombing would have felt like a mosquito bite.
We cannot relax. Right now, every mosquito bite counts. I am eager to become a mosquito and bite the U.S. Pacific Fleet myself, if necessary. It seems that you are not showing the same eagerness. It is unworthy of an admiral of the Imperial Fleet.
I beg your forgiveness. My conduct was utterly unacceptable. I ask you to give me one last chance to make up for my fault before you and the Emperor.
I will give you another chance. However, our next operation in the Philippines will be carried out by another admiral. It will give you enough time to reflect on and consider your actions.
Thank you very much. I will not let you down again, Yamamoto-san.
I have faith in you. Nagomu, you are dismissed.
Yes, Admiral.
The Philippines are ours. Congratulations to the Army and the Navy High Commands with an exemplary operation. I have informed His Majesty about your success, and he expressed his pleasure with your efforts.
Indeed, the Army acted admirably. This is yet another proof that the Japanese have no equals in combat. Our military might and samurai spirits would suffice to make a worthy gift for our Emperor and throw the United States of America at his feet.
Your vigor is inspiring, but let us not get ahead of ourselves. The complete victory is far off.
Allow me to disagree. The Army is an infallible sword in the hands of the Emperor, and trust me, it is mighty enough to cut down any foe. Following the path of the samurai and cultivating our fighting spirit, we will destroy all of our foes and force what's left of them into labor in the name of our glorious empire.
I am not going to keep listening to this nonsense quietly. First of all, the best gift for the Emperor is to negotiate peace with the United States on good terms for Japan. Secondly, the Army cannot ascertain success at sea, where we have the navies of 4 maritime countries fighting against us. Thirdly, I will ask you not to forget about the Navy's contribution towards the victory in the Philippines. Otherwise, your soldiers will have to swim in order to reach the next island.
It looks as if I was just listening to the commander of the American fleet. Whom do you serve, Mr. Yamamoto? Or would you prefer to be addressed as Sir?
I would ask you to follow etiquette and abstain from any further offensive remarks. It is beneath the faithful servants of our Emperor.
Not all of us are the faithful servants of the Emperor. I'm sure that Mr. Yamamoto would prefer to be in the company of his American friends, wouldn't he?
Prime Minister Tojo, if by any chance I hear one more phrase of this sort about me during the war councils, I will be forced to relinquish my duty, and all the consequences will be on you.
I beg your pardon, Admiral Yamamoto. You will not hear any more unfair insults.
Furthermore, I ask you to maintain decent living conditions for the enemy prisoners of war. It is a matter of extreme importance if we plan to conduct negotiations with any civilized country.
I assure you that the necessary measures will be taken. The council meeting is adjourned. Though, Sugiyama, I would ask you to stay. The oil crisis threatens the security of our empire. We had to cut down the activity of our cargo fleet in order to save enough fuel for the Navy to conduct the next operation. Because of this, we are now low on food supplies, and all citizens were assigned limited rations.
Just as I expected.
Expected or not, we have to solve this problem immediately. You have Indonesian oil right under your nose. It would have been criminal negligence not to put it to work in the name of our empire. The Emperor has blessed our Navy for this act of glory aimed at saving the people of Japan.
Had the Emperor been informed before that such an operation would involve waging naval battle against 4 maritime countries at once?
Why should we bother His Majesty without good reason? I am sure that our samurai spirit will allow us to stand against any foe, no matter how numerous.
I would not recommend you keep covering up irresponsibility with fancy words. Admiral Ugaki, do we have enough fuel for this operation?
We are rather low on it, Admiral. We have enough for the initial phase of the operation. But if it lasts longer than expected, we will run out of fuel. Everything will depend on the new shipments from the areas we invade.
Enough or not enough, we do not have another choice. Go and take the oil from our enemies. The Navy should be interested in it the most, and the Army will provide you with full support.
Japanese have taken over New Guinea. This is yet another stain on the reputation of U.S. military forces. First Pearl-Harbor, then the Philippines. Now it is New Guinea. And the insatiable Japs are hungry for more. So today, we will give it to them. With our retaliation strike into their very heart. The city of Tokyo. This'll be a daring and valiant effort. We can do it!
Yes, sir!
April the 18th, 1942. The U.S. pilots undertook a bold move doing the inconceivable, an air raid on Tokyo, by taking off from the carrier on the land-based aircraft unsuitable for such takeoff. The aim of this attack was to demonstrate the Japanese that the attack on Pearl Harbor would not go unpunished.
Inside every house, there were so many Japanese families whose lives were extinguished forever. Oh gods, I did not want this war. But they left me no choice. Yet they were mistaken. There is always a choice. I should make every effort possible to put an end to this senseless war. However, this cannot be done if we do not prove to the U.S. that the Empire of Japan is a worthy opponent. We have to beat their fleet in a truly large-scale battle in order for the peace negotiations to have a chance of success.
I'm sure Yamamoto-san will succeed. He always excels at everything.
New Guinea is in the Army's sphere of responsibility. But it seems that the Army is not capable of carrying out the tasks assigned to it. General Sugiyama, why is Port Moresby still not taken?
The Army does all possible and even impossible efforts. We require more time. The thing is that difficult terrain slows down our heavy vehicles movements. Moreover, half of our men have been stricken with lethal diseases, while the damn Yankees have fresh reinforcements daily.
Difficult terrain? Illnesses? Your excuses are so lame that it is repulsing to hear. This is a clear mark of your incompetence.
Attack the enemy where he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. These are the wise words of Sun Tzu. If the army keeps hitting its head against a brick wall, it will not help us much. However, the Navy can offer our army a helping hand. While the enemy expects our attack via land, we can attack him from the sea.
This is nonsense. The Army needs no help. We will soon take Port Moresby on our own. Do not try to steal our thunder, Yamamoto.
Enough! Keep quiet, Sugiyama. You have told us enough. Please continue, Admiral Yamamoto.
The Navy has devised a plan of naval operations for landing our troops near Port Moresby to cut off the supply lines between the U.S. and Australia, as well as to complete the occupation of the Philippines. However, I will attempt such an operation on one condition only. The command of the whole operation will be entrusted exclusively to the Navy.
I have nothing against giving the Navy a chance to prove itself. Let the Navy give our Army an example of solving problems of any difficulty in a timely manner.
I must protest, Prime Minister Tojo. You should not be swayed by Yamamoto's eloquence. The Army...
Silence! That was the last time you will be allowed to publicly criticize my decisions, Sugiyama.
Now, if the Navy is entrusted with the command of the operation, then Admiral Ugaki will provide you with all the details, while Admiral Nagumo will take the direct command of the operation.
As the Army Chief of Staff, I must say...
Sugiyama,
we cannot...
Please, leave the council room, immediately.
I beg your pardon.
Nagumo, it is your chance to prove to everyone that you are the best commander in our naval forces, and to return my complete trust.
Aye, Yamamoto-san. I will not let you down. gained a decisive victory, and our valiant Air Force has played a key role in it. These are not empty words. One of our pilots was hit and could not return to the carrier, but even that could not stop his flaming desire for righteous vengeance to the despicable Americans. On the damaged plane, against all odds, supported only by his indomitable spirit, he managed to ram his plane into the enemy carrier, dealing devastating damage to the enemy vessel. What a beautiful and meaningful death. With such pilots led by unwavering resolve, we are bound to win this war.
Long live His Majesty the Emperor! Admiral, every one of us would cry with joy if only we were given such an opportunity to sacrifice our lives in the name of our Emperor. Please allow me to take my squadron into the air and repeat the heroic death of our comrade.
As you were. Not for a second did I doubt your eagerness to sacrifice your lives in the name of His Majesty. Nevertheless, we should not sacrifice our pilots and planes without necessity. The Empire needs experienced pilots like yourselves. You have to show patience, and the opportunity for heroic death in the name of our Emperor will present itself. Being in a hurry is inappropriate in such matters.
Please forgive my impatience. We all will serve diligently and hope that we get lucky enough to die an equally glorious death for the Emperor.
By your decree, the headquarters is devising a plan of attack on Midway. Operation MI. By capturing Midway, we will, once and for all, secure Tokyo from the U.S. air raids.
That is good news. Admiral Nagumo, you performed well during the Battle of the Coral Sea. Thus, you will take command of the upcoming operation.
Thank you, Yamamoto-san. I will do my best to live up to the trust you put in me. Your giving me a second chance was, well, worth it.
It is a second chance not only for you, but also for the Imperial Navy. We did not manage to destroy the enemy carriers during the attack on Pearl-Harbor. So, at Midway, we will have an opportunity to start a major naval battle and fully destroy the U.S. Pacific Fleet. We cannot miss this opportunity, no matter what the cost.
Aye, aye, Admiral.
Admiral Yamamoto, our engineers and pilots have come up with a new weapon called the Divine Wind. Oftentimes, we lack the time for new pilots training, but many of our recruits are eager to die for the Emperor. Even pilots with shortened training programs will manage to ram their planes packed with explosives into the enemy ships. Such attacks will show the United States our spirit and resolve. We will destroy the morale of our opponents.
Yes, absolutely. The Americans will be extremely surprised by such a feat. However, I would rather not resort to this instrument of war unless absolutely necessary.
Yamamoto-san, plenty of our young Japanese are just dreaming about this golden opportunity. Do not let down their hopes. I am ready to fly this type of plane myself into an ultimate attack on our enemy.
My decision was not ambiguous. We will use the Divine Wind only if there is no other way, and ordinary means are not good enough.
As you command, Admiral.
Good day. Tokyo Radio greets you. Today our glorious Imperial Navy has crushed the U.S. Pacific Fleet. This is our response to the dastardly attack on the living districts of Tokyo. From now on, such despicable attacks are no longer possible and our cities are safe. Though is this the end of the U.S. war crimes? Surely not. There are no limits to the ignobility and depravity of these American monsters who tried to destroy our homeland. Everyone is to donate all of their food and provisions to the government for the needs of the Imperial Army and the Navy. That is an order.
Our children are starving. What are we supposed to do?
Be damned, you indecent traitor. I see you are all gorging. the whole day long in here. Thousands of our noble warriors sacrifice their lives on the front lines every day, and you cannot spare a bowl of rice? Come on, quickly! Hand over all of your provisions and food. Are you not patriots?
I beg your forgiveness. Please accept my deepest apologies.
We do not have enough provisions to supply the Navy.
What do you mean by we do not have? With all due respect, Prime Minister, I do not understand. You have plenty of desire to wage war, still, you do not have enough food for the men serving in your Navy? Why is that?
We are preparing the mobilization of 2 more million recruits. They have to be fed as well. Furthermore, the activity of the enemy submarines has increased dramatically. We lose lots of cargo ships with food and other resources.
The army is ready to fight on without food if needed.
The army can starve all that it wants to, but the Navy has to be decently supplied. As the Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet, I am responsible for every man serving in the Navy. That includes making sure they get their daily ration.
Do not fret, Admiral. I am making every possible effort to supply our Navy at a decent level.
Urgent news. Americans have started landing operations on Guadalcanal. Immediately, emergency measures are needed.
That is truly an unexpected turn of events. I will take a flight from Tokyo immediately. Convene the Navy headquarters meeting.
According to Admirals Nagumo and Ota, the U.S. troops have finally retreated from Guadalcanal. It is a victory.
Great! This time Americans made me worry, but fortunately we managed to overcome them. I want to personally congratulate our seamen and pilots on the front lines for the completion of this long and arduous operation.
Undoubtedly, your visit to the front lines will boost morale. However, it is very dangerous. Guadalcanal is still within range of U.S. aviation. I do not think that you as Commander-in-Chief have the right to put yourself at such a risk.
Our men sacrifice their lives daily while I am sitting here in safety. My visit is the least I can do for them. Inform our troops about my arrival.
Yes, Admiral.
Our intelligence did its job. Now we will present Yamamoto with his personal Pearl-Harbour. Begin the attack.
American fighters!
Stepping into the path of the warrior, you have to accept death, so that never again will you be guided by fear. A cumin will be your guide instead. I am long since ready to die at any given moment. I could have died today, but it seems I'm destined to serve Japan a bit longer.
This is outrageous! We are stuck in place while the U.S. submarine fleet and their allies had cut off all of our cargo routes. Our military production is on the verge of a complete standstill. Japan is suffocating without resources. We have to put an end to this nonsense.
The Navy has spread out all of its forces in order to maximize the security of our cargo routes. And over the last year had to postpone any large-scale operations.
This is not enough. Our cargo ships are being sunk daily. We have to make decisive steps, but it seems the Navy has no clue about such a thing. We have to gain control over Australia. Only Australian resources can save our economy and military production.
Do not worry, Prime Minister. The Army, as always, is ready to do its duty. Our spirit is higher than ever, and our soldiers are full of righteous wrath, which is about to fall upon the despicable Americans as an avalanche from the slopes of Mount Fuji.
Glad to hear it. Can the Navy support our Army's effort?
Our fleet is spread out across the Pacific Ocean to protect our cargo ships. We can help, but it will require some time to gather our forces into one mighty fist.
Ha! While Yamamoto gathers his fists, my men will raise the flag above Sydney. Mark my words. In just 2 weeks, the Army will lay all of Australia's biggest cities at the Emperor's feet.
That is settled. The Army will take charge of the Australia invasion. The Navy will provide support as soon as it gathers enough forces at that area. Sugiyama, it is your chance to bring the greatest glory to our Army for the centuries to come. Do not miss it. The beginning of the operation turned out to be a complete and utter failure. I dread to imagine what could have happened if the Navy had not intervened. It is an indelible stain on the Army reputation.
Please, I beg of you, do not blame the Army as a whole. It is my fault exclusively. I am to blame. There can be no condescending to my grievous mistake. However, all of my years of loyal service to His Majesty are worth something. I ask you for one thing. Let me speak from my heart.
Please, go on.
Please ask His Majesty to give me one last chance. I will personally lead the landing operation, and our Army will atone its fault by the heroic occupation of the whole territory of the United States. In just a few months' time, our soldiers will raise the Japanese flag above the Statue of Liberty.
Enough! In Australia, you have demonstrated your pathetic skill and complete incompetence to the whole world. Without the Navy support, you would sit forever in Australia, taken by the Navy forces, and then only be able to raise the flag over your own barracks. The Navy has some more urgent things to do. We have to win the war. Prime Minister, I hope for your prudence and ask you to transfer the command of all future operations in the Pacific Ocean under the exclusive command of the Navy. A dire threat is looming over Japan, and only our Navy has demonstrated the ability to deal with it time and time again.
You are adept at convincing people, Yamamoto. However, the most important thing is that you convince them not only with your words, but with your actions as well. I agree to put all further operations in the Pacific under your exclusive command and will ask the Emperor to support this notion.
You have my gratitude. I will not let the Emperor and our country down.
As for you, Sugiyama, I will make every possible effort to make sure you are miles away from commanding anything.
I cannot live with such dishonor. I have no way to atone for it. The only thing left for me is an honorable death.
will be no food today. Our ships once again got sunk by the Americans. No food today. Go home.
Our children are becoming deformed from starvation. They will die because of those devils, those Americans.
Yes, those devils are the root of all our problems. I hope Yamamoto will give them a second Pearl-Harbor.
Last time we had to attack Pearl-Harbor stealthily to equalize our forces. This time, however, we had to combat openly with our heads held high and with confidence in our victory. These few years we wasted no time. I am proud of our Navy.
Indeed, this time our plan is much more ambitious. You are a great man, Yamamoto-san.
It is our collective achievement. Nagumo, you finally get to finish what you have started.
Aye, aye, Marshal Admiral. I will raise the Emperor's flag above Pearl Harbor.
I believe our American friends have settled in rather nicely. Don't you think so?
Yamamoto-san, the true Navy Commander-in-Chief, has to be on board his flagship, not sitting on an island hundreds of miles away from the battle. That is why the Americans could not beat you.
I do not think it matters. What matters is good command. Is it not?
That is right, Marshal Admiral.
I am also commanding from afar. However, our true hero is Admiral Nagumo, commanding at the heart of the battle. Congratulations, Admiral Nagumo. You have conducted this operation brilliantly.
Thank you, Marshal Admiral. But without your confidence in our victory, I do not think I would dare such a move. Do you remember me having no faith in our first attack on Pearl Harbor? Please, forgive my stupidity.
There is nothing to forgive. Each of us has his own vision, and many times it is hard to tell who is right. I am glad, however, that ultimately we work in agreement.
Yamamoto-san, you are a wise man. Few people can understand you and do you justice. I myself did not understand you at first.
I have written a letter to the Emperor, asking for a personal meeting. I hope to make him understand the necessity of making peace with the United States as soon as possible. Despite our victories, we are losing the war. We cannot fight the entire world.
What? Was it all for nothing? You want to give up, Yamamoto-san? You?
No, Ogaki. I want to save Japan.
Do you like watching koi fish, Yamamoto?
Beautiful fish. It is a pity I cannot watch them from my battleship.
Pity indeed. I watch them every day. I think that koi fish are an embodiment of Japan. We should all watch them, at least occasionally. This would have helped to avoid many problems.
Your Majesty, let me tell you everything as it is.
I would not expect anything else from my most decisive Marshal Admiral. Please, continue.
We have to negotiate peace with the United States on acceptable terms as soon as possible. I'm afraid that we will not be able to pretend that we are ready to fight the whole world for much longer. There are several reasons for this. First, Your Majesty, the capitulation of Germany is not far off, and we will be left without allies against the strong coalition. Secondly, due to the naval blockade and the wartime economy, The country is in famine, and the acute lack of all resources is very apparent. Finally, despite our recent success and new weapons, our fleet is incomparably smaller than the overall enemy fleet in terms of numbers. Thus, it is a miracle that we did not lose. Yet, all miracles tend to come to an end.
It was not the kind of speech I expected from my invincible Marshal Admiral. However, I would like to hear the rest of your thoughts, Yamamoto.
Your Majesty, from the very beginning, I saw all the possible consequences of declaring war against the United States and stood firmly in favor of peace. Regrettably, my arguments were left unheeded, and as your loyal servant, I sacrificed my own convictions for the service to my emperor. I made all possible efforts to diligently carry out the order issued to me at the beginning of the war. However, I see that we have reached a dead end. I do not see any other path except for peace negotiations if we want to save the country and the imperial dynasty. Please, heed my arguments.
You are absolutely correct in your assessment of the situation, Yamamoto. As you were correct before the war. The problem is there are few people, except us, who see it that way. Yet I think that we will soon be able to act. I like your plan of peace negotiations. However, you yourself have just described how difficult our current predicament is. I am sure that the United States will refuse any peace negotiations with us, hoping to beat us easily with their military might. You have to prove them wrong. Make one last decisive victory, and I will give my full support to your plan for peaceful negotiations.
Yes, Your Majesty. I have already prepared an unbelievable surprise for both the U.S. and the British navies.
On the Emperor's will, we have started preliminary peace negotiations with the United States. However, they are adamant against negotiating with me, claiming that they do not negotiate with war criminals. Thus, I cannot properly fulfill the Emperor's will, although I can make it so that you will have a better chance of success. I hope that you will do much better in the upcoming negotiations, Yamamoto.
I promise you I will do everything possible for the sake of the Empire.
Do your duty, and I will do mine. I have long since forfeited my life in the name of serving Japan, so I lose nothing. I wish you all possible success, Yamamoto.
Mr. President, I have come all this way for the sake of peace and prosperity for both of our countries. I am sure that if our nations start treating each other with respect, then the nightmare of the last few years will never happen again, and the future generations of Japanese and American people will forget what the war is.
Not the words we might expect from the man behind the attack on Pearl-Harbor.
At that time, I was a military man and had to follow orders. Now, however, I have become Prime Minister and issue orders myself. I was always against the war with the United States, and I can finally put my efforts into the correction of the fatal misunderstanding between our countries.
What are the guarantees that the Empire of Japan will not enact some new sort of treachery while we are talking?
You have my word, though that is not all. His Majesty, Emperor Hirohito, asked me to deliver his personal guarantee, written by his own hand, with his personal seal on it. It is a unique and unprecedented document. Japan will never desecrate the word given by our heavenly emperor.
Presumably. However, the negotiations are not going to be easy. You surely understand that Japan will have to deoccupy the territories of the Caribbean Sea, Hawaii, and Australia.
Undoubtedly. However, on the conditions of the demilitarized zone and the Japanese observation mission allocation for the next 50 years. Additionally, very soon you might need a strong ally against the potential red threat.
That is an interesting proposal. Well, I see we indeed have some things to discuss here.
On behalf of the Empire of Japan and His Majesty Emperor Hirohito, I, Marshal Admiral, the Prime Minister of Japan, Yamamoto Isoroku, hereby sign on every paragraph of our peace agreement.
On behalf of the United States of America, I, elected President and the Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Military Forces, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, hereby sign on every paragraph of our peace agreement.
Let peace rule.
Let peace rule. Yamamoto, I must tell you that you do not even realize that you have saved Japan from a very grim fate.